Oh, that's it. A little bit. Just wait for a few people to come on. Just check I'm on the right channels. Right. Right, I'm on there. Can't see any chat, so give me a thumbs up or a chat so I know you're there. Let me turn that volume off. Ooh, managed to just get the washing out on the line before I start. It's quite nice and it's not overly bright here, but it's very warm outside, so get the washing out on the line quickly. I'll just give it a few more minutes. Good morning, Susan. How are you feeling now? Hope you're feeling better. Got 2 lives today. I'm here on YouTube Live now for an hour. We're going to look at matting and layering on top of books, albums, folios, could be your card fronts as well, different ideas for you. And then at 1 o'clock, I'm live over on Facebook with Pink Frog, and we're talking about double-sided adhesive. So 2 lives with me today. Well, that's good news to hear, Susan. Yes. Just take it slow. Yes, that's the best way to go. Do as you're told, which is probably hard. Hello, Yvonne. Hello, everyone. Yes, it is. I must say, you're right. It was a bit muggy. Earlier on when I was having breakfast, it came over very cloudy, and I looked at the app and I'm thinking, no, there's no rain forecast. I'm going to put the washing out. Good morning, Sharon. How are you doing? So, yes, I thought, no, washing's going out. The app says it's not going to rain. So fingers crossed it doesn't rain. So I am hoping so. I am hoping so. So, right, we've got a few of you on now. So I think just give it a few more minutes and I will turn the camera around. So I thought with today's craft with me, we'll look at different ways that you can mat and layer onto your memory books, your albums, your folios, and you can even use these techniques on your card fronts as well. So I've made myself a list of about 8, and fingers crossed we'll get through all 8, but there's probably even more. And I know what'll happen. I'll finish the live and I'll think, oh, I should have showed them that and I should have showed them that. But we'll get through as many as we can. That's the idea with this is a little bit of a techniques one this week. Next week, I'm going to do another mini album with you. I've already decided which one I'm going to do. It's going to have to be in 2 stages. We'll have to do it over 2 weeks, but that will be absolutely fine. We'll do it over 2 weeks. So we'll make the pages next week. And then the week after, we'll look at how we're going to put them into a cover, because it's going to be a little bit different to what we've done before. So yes, so next week's craft with me, dig out your double-sided 12 by 12 pattern papers. That's all I'm going to say to you. That's all you're going to need to start with is your double-sided pattern papers. Okay, so just dig out a couple of sheets. I think we'll do about probably 4 pages. I'll see 3-4 pages. But if you want to try it out first, I've got a box of double-sided that I bought years ago, and I'm not overly a lover of the patterns of them now, so I keep those as my dummy ones. So when I'm doing prototypes for projects and things like that, that's what I use. So yeah, dig out the ones you're not overly in love with first if you want to have a play with this before you start cutting up your really nice ones. So that's what we're going to do next week. Okay, so yes, we're going to look at matting and layering onto our albums, folios, memory books. You could even use these techniques with your scrapbooking, if you're a scrapbooker as well, because it doesn't matter what size you're going to make. That is the thing, okay? It doesn't matter what size you're making. It will go can be used on anything. All right, I've sized some of them down just to keep it short and sweet rather than doing big things. Okay, so if I bring in, say, something like that was a project, I know the words are back to front, don't take any notice, where here I've matted and layered and I've used some of the mirror card. This is the Rainbow Mary from Pink Frog. So your matting and layering doesn't always have to include plain cardstock, you know, because this is on the outside of your album. Okay, it's not on the inside, this is on the outside. You don't have to be overly concerned that that isn't acid and lignin free because it's on the outside, so it's not going to damage your photographs. Okay, and it does look nice for a change, and I think that just picks that up quite nicely. Other ones I've got here, I've got a whole pile of albums, and I dug a few out that I could find. This one I've used some matte mirror card here, but I've doubled here, so I've gone the matte mirror card, then back to black before going to white. So that's a double layer. We're going to look at that as well to see what you prefer. We're going to put light by light together. Okay, so there's that idea. You could quite easily just go white on white. So here I've just done the white, added the white again, and then this is watercolor, so then doing the watercolor again just to add that color. So matting in the same color as your album. That's another idea, and people often get a little bit frightened with that one. Okay. Hi Terry. Oh, I'm glad you've made it. That is brilliant. So Terry's in Cleethorpes, so he's joining us. I wonder if America will be tuning in today. Now again, showing this is on your boxes, you know, the storage boxes that we do. Now I don't know if I can bring in there. Can you see here where we're going to cut strips and use strips to make our matte and layer? Again, this has got several layers, so this is a double matte here. Okay, so we're going to look at that as well. We're going to look at that one's double strips again. So this one again is cut in, but can you see this time I've put the pattern on the outside, then done the thick card, and then continued the pattern forward into the middle. So this is it. It hasn't got your matting and layering on the front of your projects. Doesn't have to be boring. I'm trying to think what else I've got here. Oh, this is another one we might get a chance to have a look at. Doing your matting and layering. This again is just one mat, but by die cutting shapes into it, and you could have coloured backgrounds, you could have pattern papers in the backgrounds. This is going to give you a totally different look. So yes, that's one mat, but by cutting the circles in here, we've created more interest. You know, something a little bit different to just having your flat matte and layer. And then there was one other I was going to share with you. Oh, it's right here in front of me. How about bringing your other crafts into this? Okay. Oh, North Carolina. Hello. So I'm trying to see the names here. Now, am I pronouncing your name correctly? I want to say Carolina. I'm probably saying it totally wrong, so please apologies. But hello, Carolina. Lovely to know you're tuning in. I'm not sure on the timing for next week's craft with me, so do keep an eye on my socials. And when I put your supply list out for the next time craft along as well, I'll give the time out then as well. It will be Wednesday, but I'm not sure on time just yet. So again, bringing your other crafts in. This is rope. Okay, this is twisted rope, but just by having that on the edge gives a different matte and layer. So again, it hasn't always got to be cardstock. So I think we've got everybody in. We've got a nice good group going. And the nice thing about having it here on YouTube is you can watch this back as many times as you like. As I said, I've got my list. I've got my list here of 8 different ideas that I've got in my head. There's probably more, but we'll make a start with the 8. See how far we get. I want to get all 8 in. See how far we get. Okay, so some of these, I'm not doing big. We're just keeping it quite small because I want to get through these as quick as I possibly can to share with you. But this will be on YouTube. I'll also put it over and embed it on my website, which my husband is tweaking at the moment for me. So you can always go back and watch it again then. So if you're doing a project and thinking, oh, I really want to have a go at doing some different matting and layering now, what can I do? It's a good reference. So, oh, we've got another one. We got the Netherlands in this morning. So now this is going to really test me. I want to say, Bebby, am I right? Apologies, please accept my apologies if I'm getting your pronunciations wrong. But thank you very much for tuning in. Also, if you found me because you've gone on YouTube and you've seen a live and you haven't subscribed to Dawn's Inspirations, please press the subscribe button, because then next week when I put the supply list up, you'll get an alert so you'll know what you're going to bring. Oh, I was correct. Thank you. That is brilliant. I did get the pronunciation correctly. Now, can I do it again, Bibby? That's the main thing. So, should we go down onto my desk and let's have a look at what we're going to do? Again, basic supplies are required. If you haven't got any if you haven't got your supplies out, you've just grabbed a cuppa and you want to join in with me, join in with the chat. While I'm doing things, if you come up with any other ideas or think of something or you've got a question, please do ask. I've got them all here beside me on my iPad, just here, so I can read all the questions that are coming through. So I'll try and keep up with you all. So I'm going to turn the camera and pop it in its holder so we can make a little start. Now, there we go. Is that a good position? I think we might be able to go over a little bit. This is it on YouTube, on Facebook. They're always different. Right, I think that's quite... I want to go close enough that you're going to be able to see enough. So, that's the main thing. So I've got all sorts here. So bear with while I just... I've got my list and I'm having a look at how we're going to... Let's start off at the beginning. Let's start off at the beginning. So I've just got myself some bright coloured card here. Now, we talked in the beginning about whether you do a double mat or just a single mat. So let's have a look at that to start with. So normally when I go to do a mat and layer on an album, I normally go 1/4 of an inch. So if I just snip off 1/4 of an inch on here. Oh, Julia's in Grantham, Lincolnshire. You're just down the road from me. I'm up here in the Sherwood Forest. I'm in the centre part of the Sherwood village. So you're only down the road from me, Julie. So I've taken 1/4 of an inch off 2 sides. So by taking 1/4 of an inch off 2 sides, that's going to give you a mat and layer that is going to look, let me put that just there, okay? But how about if we took 1/2 an inch off 2 sides? Because again, this is personal choice. Sometimes it's nice when you're doing a project and you've got the card in the background. It's quite nice to see as much of the lovely background card as you can, as well as the paper. So we've got a 1/4 of an inch mat there, where we've cut 1/4 of an inch off 2 sides. And then here we've got 1/2 an inch. So you can see the difference. And again, this is personal preference, but it's quite good to see it side by side, because I think sometimes that gives you then an idea of what you're looking at. So if then I pop this onto your card, you can see how that's going to look. And in fact, actually, let me get another one out to put under the other one, because I want to do a bit of like for like, because this is something I think we tend to forget to do, and it's quite good to see the difference between the two. And I want you to use this video as a reference video. You know, come back and have a look at it when you're doing your next project, so you can think, right, how am I going to do this one this time? So let me just pop this one under here. So you've got your 1/4 of an inch, and then you've got your 1/2 inch. So you can decide which one you prefer to do. So let's take this a little step further. So now I'm going to take, that should be correct. So now I'm going to take another layer to give you a double mat. So this is a double mat with the 1/2 inch taken off the two sides each time. This one's a 1/4. Okay. So let's now take, so you've got double layer versus single layer. So you can see the difference you're going to get. Sometimes I think a double layer, particularly on the front of a project, makes it look more important, more special. A bit like when we're putting photographs on a scrapbook layout. Your main photograph that you're having on your scrapbook layout, if you double mat it, you know that's your featured photograph. And then the other ones you can do single or no mats. So that is your double mat. So then if I do the same again, I think that's correct, 1/2, 1/2. So then if I do that onto there, so you've got your 1/4 of an inch increments to give you a double mat, and your 1/4 of an inch increments to give you where we've got a double mat, and this is 1/2 inch in. So excuse me, so this is showing you, and I don't know what you think, but personally I think that one stands out more because I can see more of the coloured card. But again, this is all personal preference. Okay, so that's where we're going to start off. Now, when we're doing mats and layers, this is where we talk about, and it's going to bring me into my other one. So we've done, I've got my list here. Let me just check my list. I'm going to tick these off as I go because I'm going to get in a muddle, my scrawly writing. So we've done single and double layer. That's good. We've done large and small. That's good. So the next one I want to look at is gutting. Now, a lot of the ladies that come to my classes will be going, oh no, gutting. But they've all got so used to gutting now. And this is where, if you're doing something with bulk, okay, things like that, by having the gutting, you're taking that weight out. These ideas you can put on the front of, like the gift box we just shared, your albums, your folios, your card fronts as well can be used for this. Okay, so let's look at gutting. So let's move just that one out of the way for a minute, because we can gut in a couple of ways. So if this was my first one, I know that's a 1/4 of an inch increment, so I'm going to gut in. First, to make it really safe, I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch. And yes, anybody attending the scrapbook class on Thursday, we're going to do a little bit of gutting. Because you know I like to save my papers and card. It's a great way if you've got a few supplies, or if you're doing this type of thing for, say, charity or anything like that. By gutting in, what you're doing is you're saving this layer of card. Okay, so let's pop this down. So that's your base. It could be the base of your album, base of a card, anything you like. That's our first piece that we've gutted that piece out of. I could be using this to die cut my sentiment to go on there, die cut any embellishments or features that are going on there as well. Use it as an extra mat. So if we then bring in the next layer and the next layer, this could be used as a mat to go on the top. Okay, so when we talk about gutting, I'll do it one more time with you for people that don't know. Okay, let me bring my trimmer right in here. So I've got my piece of card. I'm going to gut this one in at 3/4 of an inch. So if you pop it in your trimmer, and I'm going over here to the 3/4 of an inch mark, and I'm just going to pop that in my trimmer. On the arm of my trimmer, I've got inches marks. So I'm going to pop that in, and my blade has got these little nicks in it, which mean that is where the cutting blade is. So I've got it at 3/4 of an inch, pop it down, and then I can put it up. And you're going to stop at 3/4 of an inch. Now, sometimes because we've got a funny measurement going on here, because we've already cut some off, don't over worry about it. You're then going to do a 1/4 turn. Okay, I like to go clockwise. So we've got the mark at the top now. So let's find that mark at the top. We're there. Then we can come down to 3/4 of an inch. Do a 1/4 turn again. Come down to 3/4 of an inch. Go up to that top piece. Turn again. And then we do 3/4 of an inch again. Now, do you remember on the first piece, we didn't go all the way up? So don't worry, because we can pop that back in the trimmer and just get that last piece out. And that is called gutting, for anybody that doesn't know. Sorry if I'm repeating myself for people that already do. Okay, so you've got that piece gutted. We could go and then add that piece gutted, and then we could add our piece on the top. But we've saved all this card that we could use for another project, to add extra matte and layers on there, to die cut sentiments, anything you like. Now you can also gut in a different way. So if I bring in this one that we had, okay, let's take this top one, or the bottom piece. We can gut this in another way. You can gut this in with your dies. Okay, so if you've got dies, use your dies for gutting. So I'm going to take the biggest one I've got of the squares. So if you're not too sure about gutting with a trimmer, or you've only got a guillotine, okay, use your dies. But obviously you are governed by your die cutting machine. So to do this with your machine, this piece should fit on here. Yep, just. So I can layer that up, get that roughly central, and then take some repositionable tape. Should have another piece under here. If not, I've got a piece on my machine. Always got some repositionable tape on my machine. And then we can pop that through our die cutting machine. So this idea is very good if you're not overly confident about doing your gutting with a trimmer. Okay. So then we take all that off. Okay, so we just take our repositionable tape off. There you go, you got your piece gut out the middle. So you're going to have exactly the same effects. So you're going to lay that down, pop that onto your card, your album front, whatever you want to do, and you could do exactly the same with the next one down, and you'd have that same effect on your saving card. So that is looking at ways you can do gutting. So we're doing quite well. I'm really impressed. So let me just tick off my list so I know I've done it. So that was gutting with 2 different ways. So we've done both those. Right, now let's look. Let's pop those to one side. Now let's look at making a frame. I'm going to keep this base. Let's keep this base because I think it's quite important to see like for like. Let me pop those on there. Now I'm going to go into my bit box. We've all got this bit box. Now some of these in here, these are offcuts that I get from Pink Frog, and I know I'm on with them at 1 o'clock today on a Facebook Live, and I'm using offcuts. So these are offcuts which are very handy to have. Okay, I'm just trying to pick out. Let's have some blues. So I've got, because the offcuts come in strips, they come in squares, they come in all sorts, but they're exactly the same colours as your projects. Is everyone happy? Yeah? So we're going to bring our trimmers in again. So this is how I would go about doing a frame. And this one is called, like, it's a frame in 4 parts, so it's strips. So I've got my main project here, a 6.5. So let's do a 6-inch frame to start with. So I'm going to cut this down to 6 inches because that will give me a nice frame. Yeah. Let's cut these down at 1 inch. So I've got 1, 2, and I'm looking at this. Let's do it all at 1 inch so I don't confuse you. 3, and I don't think that's going to be 6 inches. No, it's not. So let's do another one. 4. Okay, so I've got my 4 strips. Now, yes, we could just put them on like that, but it doesn't look very nice, does it? We want it to look nicer than that. So what you're going to do is on 2, and only on 2, what you're going to do is you're going to mark 1 inch. So actually, let me move that to one side. You're going to mark 1 inch in on 2 sides, on just 2 pieces on each end. So I've gone 1 inch in. This is 6, so I'm going to do 5. So that's that one. I'll do it again on here. Now you can just do a little nick on your trimmer. That's often what I do, but I'm trying to show carefully because I know there's new crafters all the time watching. So I've done that on 2 pieces. So then I'm going to pop it back in my trimmer. You could do it with a pair of scissors as well. What I like to do is to put this point, let me bring that a bit closer. This point I'm going to angle, can you see, just down the channel of my trimmer. Okay, can you see that? I've got it just angled down the channel of my trimmer. So the point is in that cutting angle, and the mark where I'm cutting, you just then turn it to the cutting channel as well. So you can get that nice straight line. Okay. So we're going to cut both those. So we're going to do 1. So that's 1 piece off. And I'm going to do exactly the same again here. So let's do, just hold it carefully. So it's going to look like that. That's how it's going to look. So let's do this other one. Okay, down there. So if you don't feel confident, you can just do it with, you can draw a pencil and a ruler line and then go in with your scissors. Do whatever you feel comfortable with. This is what this is all about. It's about feeling comfortable with how you're crafting. Okay, so let's bring that in there. Okay, let's move all these little bits out the way. There we are. Pick these up. So now this is how you're going to attach them then to your project. What we're going to do is we're going to pop one on here, because you're going to get that mitered look, but you don't have to do the mitre on all of the parts. Now, I find the easiest way to do this, I'm going to bring this one up because it's a bit easier to see. If you've got a scoreboard, if you put your straight strip in the top there, okay, glue, there we go. Bring in some glue. Put some glue just on this end here, and by putting it up in the corner of your scoreboard, you're getting a nice square angle. Okay, I've also got a magnetic square angle I use on my magnetic board as well. That's another way you can do it. Then you're just going to quarter turn that again, button it right up in this corner. Bring the other one in, a little bit of glue. You may notice, for anybody that is a pink frog follower, I am using my EVA, my fine nozzle bottle. Your EVA might seem runnier at the moment, and it's because of the heat. So please do not panic. It's just the heat. I mean, I'm in my craft room and it's quite warm, but it is just the heat. So then we've got our last piece. So I'm just going to turn it over and put a little bit of glue on each of those sides. And then we can pop that in. Again, making sure it's all square. And there we've made a lovely square frame. But we've got those nice mitres going on. So when you pop that onto your card, you've got that lovely mitered look. And that's exactly what I had on, let me bring up this one just here. Can you see I've used strips from my offcut box to make those mitres on the edge? And I do that quite a lot because it just saves you cutting in to other card. And then obviously you'd put your big mat on the top. So I haven't really got a big enough mat here. Let me cut one down. Let's try 5.5 by 5.5. So you could do a double mat with that again as well. Is everybody okay? My chat has seemed to have stopped. So I'm just hoping everybody's okay. So by popping that on there, you've got your layer, but rather than cutting into another big piece of card, all we've done is use strips. And you could go in quite nicely and do another one exactly the same. So we did that one at 6 inches. So all you would do is bring this measurement down, say 1/2 inch if you prefer that look, or 1/4 inch if you prefer that look. But always remember, whatever size or width your cut is, that's what measurement you have to do on your mitre. Okay, it is a great idea for using on strips. So if I go in to say, let's take another piece just to share with you, just so you know. So say if I've gone in with a 2-inch strip, I've used all 2-inch strips, then you know you have to go in with your pencil and do 2-inch marks to get that mitre. So it's going to go like that, and like that. So then you will cut that piece off. Let me pop that down. You will cut that piece away, and that will give you a mitre. So whatever thickness your strips are, that's how far along you come and cut away your mitre. That's all you got to remember. Okay, so that is the mitre one. So let me cut that one off. So that was that one. Oh, no, I do like this one. Oh, I do like this one. So this is, I came across this by sheer accident when I was designing a project. And this is sometimes when we have some beautiful pattern paper. Let me pop that down there. I don't think I've got any pattern paper to hand. Oh, hang on. Oh, I have. Hang on. I did have some. Where did I put it? I did. I put it under here. Right. You say you've got some beautiful pattern paper and you want to use that, but you want to make a frame. Okay. You can do. So what you're going to do, again, you're going to get your trimmer. Now, obviously, if you were doing something like 12 by 12, you'd have to use a ruler and a pencil and a craft knife, or a ruler and a pencil and a pair of scissors. So what I'm doing this time is, remember I said to you, pop that corner right on that corner of that cutting line. You're going to do that again. But then also this second corner is going to be in the cutting line. Okay, so they're both in the cutting line. Put your blade in the middle and cut that in half. So you've got two pieces. Okay, don't fret, don't worry. We're then going to take the first piece, and again, you're going to put that point down in that channel. Now, if you want to make sure you're level, like obviously that's not level, but if you look at most trimmers, they've got lines that are going across. So you'll be okay. And then you're going to cut that. Okay, so that's two. And you're going to do it again. So we're going to pop that in. Hold that where you need it. Making sure it's level. And cut that down. So you've got 4 pieces. So now we've turned the 4 pieces into 4 triangles. Okay. We could take that step further, because then we can cut pieces off. So let's go 1.5. Oh, should we go 1.5 or should we go 1? Let's go 1 inch. Let's keep this nice and simple. So I'm going to lay my straight piece up with the 1 inch mark on my trimmer. So I've got a nice straight line there. So I know everything's straight. Okay. Pop that down and cut that. So that's the first one. And we're going to do the same again. And I'm just putting these back in their position, because this one works like a jigsaw puzzle and all will become clear. Okay, we'll do the next one. We're doing the same. But this is great if you've got beautiful papers that you don't want to miss out on all that lovely patterning on the front. You could even do this to make a decorative pattern on your front. So let me move my trimmer just out of the way. Let's bring this in. I've got a frayed one there that's bothering me. So I'm going to take the centre squares out at the moment. So you're going to lay one there, one there, one there, and one there. Now again, because we've done that triangle mitre, can you see it fits absolutely perfectly, and you've got all your pattern where you want it to be. So you're going to have those lovely mitred strips, but you haven't done the mitre strips like this because you want all that patterning going in the same way. Okay, now obviously if you filled in the middle you would, but this is where you could put a decorative piece in the middle, okay, and 3D that to bring that up. Another thing you can do with this is if you lay them out slightly to give you a gap to show some of your card. Can you see how nice that can look when you just pull it out so you see some of your card going on there? Okay, so this is giving you another way to do that mitre. Hello, Karen. All right. Oh, Karen's been watching on the big television. Oh, dear. Well, I've spelt it wrong because I put craft with knee, #5. That's because I was doing it on my iPhone quickly before I went live, because I have to fill in all the description on my iPhone before I go live. I will change that after, I know. But watching on the big telly, oh dear, all the wrinkles. So this just gives you a gap, but a mitre, but a different way that you're going to have that pattern showing. So if I bring this project in to share with you, this is how I came across this idea when I was doing our retreat project for 2024, and we made a lovely frame to put our album in, and obviously I wanted to use that beautiful pattern paper and have it all matching. So this is a great way to use your frames. So if you're making your frames from Pink Frog, by using your pattern paper, you see I haven't lost any of the detail, because by having that mitre, but by having a little bit of gap with the cardstock, it just works. And I just think it looks beautiful. So I love that technique. The inside, if you look really closely, the inside you may see the crosses where I've actually stuck it together. So I've stuck these panels right in the middle as well. Okay, so it works. But can you see you've got all that patterning going on? So you've continued all that across the whole way. Right, so let me tick that one off my list. That's another one done. Where are we? Cutting a frame. So I've done that one, done that one, done that one. What was the next one we were going to do? Oh, offsets. So let's do an offset. Now you're probably thinking, okay, Dawn, what's an offset? An offset can be lots of things, actually. So let me move that to one side. So an offset one works really well if you've got 12 by 12 scrapbook papers or layouts. I'm going to see if I can find the layout. She says it's going to be right where I don't want it to be, I know. It's not that one. I think it might be this one. Right, I'll have... Oh, yes, it's this one. This is the one I wanted. Okay, so that is what I'm looking at when we're looking at what I call an offset. Excuse me, quick sip of water. So by doing it offset, you haven't got a square frame. We've done it off at an angle. So again, this works brilliantly for your scrapbook pages. It works great for your books as well. So how we do this, because again, can you see we've got the pattern paper continuing on. So the pattern paper is all there the same. So I'm not going to do it with pattern paper at the moment. And if you look at the reverse, you'll see exactly the same thing going on. But I'll show you how I've come to that. So let's start off with, I'll tell you what, let's cut this down. We'll cut this down to a square, because all good things start with a square. Okay. So I've got 2 pieces of coloured card. Okay, but one would normally be pattern paper, one would be card. And what you're going to do is you're going to gut in 1/2 inch on 2 sides this time. So you're doing it slightly different. So I'm going to go in at 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut up. But this time I'm going to go anti-clockwise. Bring it in at 1/2 inch. Bring my blade up. And that is going to come down. And then if I have missed that bit, I can go in and just do that last bit. Okay, so that is our first layer. So it's going to look like that. So that's my first layer. Now pretend this is my pattern paper. So this time I'm going to cut in 2 inches. Now I can't go over 2 inches because I haven't got 2 inches this side. So I'll do it this side. Won't matter because I've not got patterns. So I'm going 2 inches and 2 inches. And these ideas, I would suggest, honestly, having a play with some scraps, just like I'm doing here. So I've done a 2 inch. I'm going to go back to my base card and I'm going to do another 1/2 inch. So I'm doing another 1/2 inch. And for those people, and I know Sharon's watching, that love their pattern papers, this is a really nice technique to use. And now I'm going back in. This would be my pattern paper with 2 inches again. Okay. And I'm just going to catch that nick again because I didn't go all the way up. Okay, so I've got that. And then this is where you start layering it together. So you start up with the first one you've got. You then glue the next one on top of it. So you glue it like you've got a matten layer. You're then going to bring your next piece of card. And this is where you can bring it down and have as much of the pattern paper showing as you wish. And then you're going to stick the next piece on and try and marry up that you've got the same thickness going on. And then the last piece you've got is another piece of card and then with your pattern paper. Does that make sense to everybody? So just by using a sheet of pattern paper and a sheet of card, you're going to do that. Once you've glued these first few bits, can you see we've got pieces sticking up here and here? Just take that in your paper trimmer and you cut them to the size you want. So if I bring back in the scrapbook layout I did, so you stick them, so you've got your cardstock, you stick your paper on the top, cardstock, your paper on the top. I've done 3 lots of layers going on here, and then at the end I just squared that all off to fit 12 by 12. But this would work really nicely on one of the boxes, your presentation boxes, your scrapbooking. It would work really well with to go on the front of, say, an album. So if you've got a large album like this is that is 9 3/4 by 9 3/4. That's a big album cover. So to try and muck about with covers with that, you can quite easily do this technique on there and it would look fabulous as a technique. Okay, and something a little bit different than just doing your square matting and layering. So that is one offset. Okay, let me tick that one off. So let's look at shaped ones now. So let's pop this all away. Oh, I'm having so much fun doing these. It's just amazing how many ways you can do a frame. So let's do a shaped frame now. So when I talk about shaped matting and layering, this is where you're going to use your nesting dies. So I've got squares, I've got rectangles, I've got ovals, I've got circles. So you could use any nesting dies for this. So when you're going to do a nesting, I had myself some pattern paper here at the ready. And we're going to have that bit. And we can have that bit, yeah. So let's look at an oval, because we've looked at squares and things. Let's look at an oval. So I've got myself a piece of base going on here. So that is measuring 6.5 by 4.5. So let's then go with 6 by 4. And I tell you what, let's see if I can get another piece. Let's do a 3.5 by, so hang on, so we did 4, 3.5, so we need a 5.5. Right. So I've got myself a couple of layers of card. Okay, I've got a nice base card. So now let's look at some nesting dies. And I'm sure lots of you have got nesting dies at home. You know, I know what you've got at home. You've got lots of stuff. And this is it. We forget to use it half the time. And this is the thing. I think we have so much stuff, we forget to get it out and use it. And what you've got for your card making will work really nicely as well for your album fronts, memory books, things like that. It's right, I mean, mine went blank then. So let's just cut a couple of these out. Okay, will that fit on there? Oh, it will just. I can do the two together. So let's tape this down. So I'm going roughly in the centre. So we can pop both those on there. And yes, use your nesting dies on your album fronts and your memory book fronts, because they work really well and it gives a different look. It doesn't always have to be square. So Sue says we'll definitely give that one a go. Oh, which one was that, Sue? Was that the pattern paper one that you liked? Or was that, I'm trying to think, the one we did. Oh, the offset one. It could be the offset one. It's right. Messages are a bit slow coming through on YouTube, but it's fine. We're fine. So let's take this out of the way. Take my tape off. I'm using the repositionable tape, if anybody's asking. As you can see, you don't get any marks on your card whatsoever. So let's take those out. Let's move this to one side. We're now looking at a rectangular card or album front or whatever you want to call it. So we could go that way. So we could start building up the layers. Okay, so you could do it that way and then put a 3D on the front in a different colour. You could quite easily just have the shape on the front of your albums as well. That's another thing you could do. You could do it that you offset these. You could have them coming down in shapes. So use your nesting dies for the fronts of your covers. Yes, Sue liked the offset version. I do. And this is it. You can do the offset version with your nesting dies as well. So if you look at the dies we've got, if I bring in the middle one, let me see if that's the middle one. Yeah, there we go. So I hope you can see that there. Can you see? You could die cut 3 different ovals, have them like that. You could put a nice sentiment along the front and that would look fabulous on a card. And if you've got really big nesting dies that go up to sort of 8x8 size, that would look absolutely amazing. So yes, don't forget to use your nesting dies as matting and layering on your covers. So I've got one more idea, I think it is. Where's my sheet so I can tick them off? Because I'm getting there. Yes, we're on number 8 now. So, if anybody's got any other ideas they want me to try, please just say now before I do the last. Well, I'm going to do the last one, but before I come off. So let's look at strips. So I'll tell you what. Let's bring in. Let me get some more off-cut strips here. So let's go with a bit of red. And I'm going to cut some strips off. So I'm just going to go 6 inches. And I'm going to put in I'm going to cut some 1/2 inch strips. In fact, that might be a bit big. I might go 1/4. Well, let's cut both. So let's have 1/4 and 1/2. What I want this to be is craft with me. Sometimes we'll make something from start to finish. Sometimes I want to do techniques with you like this, because these techniques that I'm sharing today will go, as I say, from your album making to your folios, to your memory books, to your card making, you know, and this is it. These are things we tend to forget about. And that's why I think sometimes it's important to just go back to basics. Just go back there and have a go at trying something different. Right, so I've got myself 4 that are 1/2 inch and 4 that are 1/4 inch. So let's bring in that square back in again that I've been using. So I have this as our say our album cover, our box cover. It could be anything. So we've done the mitering, but how about, in fact, let's have a bigger square. Let's go with this one. There we go. So we'll go in here. In fact, that might be too, let's bring that down a little bit. That's a bit too big. I'm getting fussy now, aren't I? It's just I want to get the effect across to you of what I've got in my head. So you can put one there, and then we can have one there, and then we can have one there. So yes, I know this isn't technically matting and layering, but what it is, it's just showing you different ways to frame. Because when we do matting and layering in, what we are basically doing is we're framing a project. So we're framing the picture on the front of our card. We're framing something on top of a box. So yes, I know this isn't technically matting and layering, but you're getting the idea that you're framing it. So you could just frame it with some strips you've got left. So if you've got a paper project and you've got some papers left, you could frame it with just strips. You could use strips from your offcuts, anything you've got. Let's now go in and add some thinner ones, because I think this will look better with thinner ones. So let's just bring this in with some thinner ones, because this is where I think this will work really well. Now, if you get to an end of a project and you haven't got a lot of pattern paper left, you know the thin strips you get on the end of your pattern paper, this little idea would work really well with that. Okay. If you get to the end of a project and you haven't got enough paper and you're thinking, I want to make a presentation box, but I haven't got enough papers left or anything to make the presentation box, just add in some little strips of the paper that you've used in the project that you've done. You could add a die cut element in the front. You could stamp on the front. You could do some masking like I've just done on this one here. Just some masking and do some brushing, and then just do some stamping with your stamps. It hasn't got to be anything too big, but by adding some of the pattern papers or cardstock that you've used in the project all the way through, it just brings everything together. So I know this last one isn't technically a mat and layer. It's giving you the illusion of a mat and layer, so you can then go on and put your centerpiece in the middle of whatever you're decorating. Okay, we haven't even looked at using pens, because that's another thing you can do with the chisel end of your pen, is to do matte and layers with the chisel end of your pen and no cardstock at all. But I think I've got quite a few ideas that I've given you. So I'm just going to flip the camera around. Go away. The one I wanted. Let's turn that round. It's all right, a calendar thing came right up on my phone as I didn't want it. So I hope you've enjoyed today, and I've given you a few ideas of different ways that you can matte and layer your boxes, you know, your presentation boxes, your albums, whether you want to use it in your albums as well, whether you want to bring it into your scrapbooking as well, whether you want to do your single mats. Now, this is it, it's personal preference, whether you prefer a double mat or a single mat, whether you prefer to go 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 inch. But hopefully, by seeing, if you missed the beginning of the video, please go back and watch, because by seeing them on the desk side by side, it gave you, you could see it. And have a little play. Go away now and just get some scraps of your card, have a little play, keep them as reference, whether it's a reference to show how to do the little mitre and you can just make yourself some notes. But remember, this video is there on YouTube. You can come back and watch it as many times as you like. Whether it was, I think that one was quite popular, using your pattern papers there and doing that gutting out is a great idea as well. Okay, so you can bring all these together. So I'm a scrapbooker, I'm an album maker, I'm a folio maker, I'm a card maker, and these techniques go across all those genres. So we sometimes forget to use them. This is the sad thing. We keep doing the same old matte and layer and we often forget. So hopefully I've given you a few ideas. I've managed to get through the 8 ideas I wanted to off my little scribbly list that I'd made myself. So it's been a lovely hour. Thank you very much for joining me. So next Wednesday, Craft With Me 6, we're going to make the start on a mini album. But it's going to have to be made by, thank you, Terry, it's going to have to be made by 2 weeks. So next week we will start off with the pages. So we're going to use some 12 by 12 double-sided papers. So get yourself about 3 or 4 12 by 12 double-sided papers. If you want to craft along with me in real time, grab some that you don't, what's Tracy saying? Oh, she's got lots of ideas buzzing around. Well, this is what this is about. These Craft With Me is hopefully me inspiring you. So yes, so next week's craft along is part 1. We'll make a mini album. So next week's part 1, we'll do the pages. So 3 to 4 sheets of double-sided pattern paper, 12 by 12. And then the following week, we will make the album cover for it. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to Dawn's Inspirations YouTube channel, please press the subscribe button. I'll get this video uploaded onto my website as well as Craft With Me 5, so you can find it there as well. So you can always go back and use it as a reference. And when you come out of the video, if you press watch later, that stays in your YouTubes as watch later. You've always got it there as a reference and you're never going to lose it. So thank you for joining me. I'm going to go away and have a quick drink, retidy my desk, and I will be on Facebook at 1 o'clock with Pink Frog for a Facebook Live using double-sided adhesive sheets. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Take care. Bye for now.